Setting those lineups for Fantasy Week 14. Here we go with big running back injury news on Fantasy Football Today Express. Welcome, everyone. It's Adam and Heath here on Sunday morning. All right, Breece Hall is out at Miami. Ken Walker is out at Arizona. And Jordan Mason, Christian McCaffrey, they are out. Isaac Guerendo likely getting put into that starter's role for the 49ers. How are you ranking Braelon Allen, Zach Charbonnet, and Isaac Guerendo, Heath?
So there are levels to this. Zach Charbonnet is the most starty of the starts. He had a rush share of over 80% and a target share over 10% last time that Ken Walker missed a couple of games. And he didn't run efficiently. I'm sure that's going to be brought up soon. But it didn't matter. He still scored a bunch of fantasy points because he got so many touches. He's a top 10 running back for me. I'm starting Zach Charbonnet pretty much everywhere. Isaac Guerendo is not too far behind him. There's a little bit more mystery about how many touches Guerendo will get, but we've seen earlier this year they trusted him with pretty much a starter's workload, and almost everyone over the last 5 years who's been a starting running back in this offense has been good. I view Guerendo as a borderline top 12 option. Braelon Allen makes me the most nervous. He's a low-end RB2. I don't have complete confidence that he's going to handle the passing downs. Isaiah Davis is very good in that role, and I think that he might have to share a little bit more than we would like. I do kind of like Davis if you're desperate for a flex.
Someone's asking Braelon Allen, Zach Charbonnet, or James Conner.
So that's a clear. That's a clear for me. Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah. And Braelon Allen, I just want to point out the Dolphins' run defense has been fantastic. So he's cleared third on this list for me. Would you go Charbonnet, then Conner, then Allen?
Yes. I've got Charbonnet, I think 10th, Conner 14th, Braelon Allen. I said at the beginning of the week there were not 24 running backs I wanted to start. There still aren't. Braelon Allen's 23rd.
Okay. And now for Charbonnet, it's 5 games in the last 2 seasons with 14 or more carries. He scored 12.9 or more PPR fantasy points in 4 of them. He scored 16.9 or more in 3 of them. So you should be excited to get Zach Charbonnet in your lineup. Alexander Madison is reportedly not expected to play. Just saw that. So how does that? What does that mean for Amir Abdullah and McCormick at Tampa Bay? And let's talk about the other backfield in that game. So Bucky Irving expected to play right now. So break down Bucs and Raiders.
So I think this is one where I'm making a change this morning. I saw an Antonio Pierce quote just talking about how well McCormick has run, and he had 12 rush attempts last week, and Pierce was saying hopefully we can bump that up a little bit this week. So I had it coming into the week, basically 10 rushes for Abdullah, which I think is what he's had the last 2 weeks, 9 for McCormick. I'm going to give McCormick a few more carries. They're both high-end flexes. I'm starting Sincere McCormick in a couple of leagues. I would rather start Braelon Allen, but he is closer to Braelon Allen than Braelon Allen is to Charbonnet or Guerendo. A high-end flex for Sincere McCormick and a fine high-end flex for Amir Abdullah in full PPR leagues as well. The reports we're getting on Bucky Irving is that he's fine. He was injured during that game and performing spectacularly last week. And so I'm going to trust Bucky Irving pretty much everywhere. Top 12 running back for me.
DeAndre Swift and DJ Moore are both expected to play. Moore has been so hot, I don't know that you can get him out of your lineup. DeAndre Swift, though, how does he compare to these running backs that we're talking about?
Man, this is probably one of the biggest swings of the week because the downside is that he's got a quad injury, he's dinged up, and he has not been great this year, or as good as we'd hoped. The upside is Roschon Johnson's out with a concussion, and Johnson's the guy who's been stealing DeAndre Swift's touchdowns. If you gave DeAndre Swift half of Roschon Johnson's fantasy points, we would love DeAndre Swift. I'd view him as a number 2 running back. I'd rather start him than Braelon Allen. I'd rather start him than Sincere McCormick, but I would rather start Charbonnet and Guerendo over Swift.
All right, let's take a break. We have a lot more to get to here. We'll tell you about Dalton Kincaid, George Pickens, Malik Nabers. Are these guys, well, Kincaid's not going to play, but the other 2, are we comfortable starting them? And we'll answer some of your questions after this on Fantasy Football Today Express. All right, moving on here to the wide receiver. So George Pickens expected to play. They're going to test out his hamstring before the game. I think it's his hamstring. And he's at 1 o'clock. Pickens, but Nabers, I mean, I'll just read the tweet here from this is who had the Neighbors? Oh, it's always Schefter or Rappaport, right? Schefter. Giants wide receiver Malik Nabers listed as questionable for Sunday due to a hip flexor injury and a lingering groin issue. Will try to play versus the Saints, but the team wants to see how he feels in pregame warmups. And as one source said, it would, quote, would be more of a limited role, end quote. So thoughts on Pickens and Nabers?
So I had already downgraded Nabers to basically a high-end wide receiver 3. I think I may go a little bit lower that, put him right around wide receiver 30. Basically, if you have wide receivers that you want to start, don't start Malik Nabers. But there's still a lot of upside for a guy like him. So I don't want to say that I'm going to start someone like a Roma Dunze or a Nick Westbrook or even a Jalen Waddle over Malik Nabers. He's kind of just the definition of that borderline starter. As for Pickens, it's an early game. If he tests it out and he's active, they say he's fine, I'm starting him.
And they're both early games. Nabers is an early game too, so at least we don't have to deal with that. Cedric Tillman is out, so that boosts Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore and David Njoku for that matter. Ladd McConkey is a true game time decision, apparently. So I don't know what to tell you, but at Kansas City on Sunday night, it's a Sunday night game. Is there any, Quentin Johnston's pretty rostered. Is there any backup plan here that we could use if we want to start?
I think Josh Palmer's the backup plan. I don't think he's a very good one. Another backup plan that you could have would be Brandon Cooks. So if you could get one of those two guys and wait it out. Otherwise, I think if Malik Nabers is active, you have to play him over Ladd McConkey.
I'm sorry. Would you start Braelon Allen over these guys, Nabers and McConkey?
So I probably wouldn't start Braelon Allen over Malik Nabers if he's active. I probably would start Braelon Allen over Ladd McConkey just because we're not going to know if he's active. That's assuming I don't have a backup plan.
Here's a good question. Nabers or Keenan Allen? PPR.
Keenan Allen.
Okay. See where you're at there on Malik Nabers. And by the way, for those of you who heard me say 80 yards and a touchdown for Malik Nabers on Friday's show, you could disregard that. I'm not sticking with that. Dalton Kincaid is out. Keon Coleman is questionable. Dallas Goedert's going on IR. The Bengals are going to be without both Logan Wilson, who's out for the year, and Sheldon Rankins. That's who they were missing last year. They got run last week. They got run all over. So that's good news for Rico Dowdle. Jake Ferguson and CeeDee Lamb will play. That's good news for Jake Ferguson and CeeDee Lamb. And kicker news, Will Reichard is going to play for Minnesota. So if you have Parker Romo, you can get rid of him, and you can start Will Reichard because whoever Minnesota's kicker is someone that you can start. All right, let's get to some questions here. Isaiah Pacheco or Nick Westbrook-Akine, who would you start?
Wow, I do not really want to start either one of them. Westbrook-Akine, I've got projected for 10 points. Pacheco, I've got projected for 8.5. So I'll go with Westbrook.
Would you start Ladd McConkey or Jawan Jennings?
Definitely going to start Jawan Jennings in that situation.
JSN or Garrett Wilson?
I'm going back to Garrett Wilson. I'm not starting JSN over him.
Could you please rank Tyreek Hill, Jacoby Myers, and Bucky Irving? And Jacoby Myers is expected to play.
So I'd go Bucky, Jacoby, and Tyreek.
I'm sorry. Let's see. Derek Carr or Aiden O'Connell?
It's Carr for me.
Tyrone Tracy Jr. or Zach Charbonnet, PPR?
Charbonnet.
You answered this one at the start of the show, but Charbonnet or Guerendo?
It's Charbonnet.
Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Nabers, or Calvin Ridley, half PPR?
I am going to start Harris. No, I've got Ridley one spot ahead of Harrison.
Oh, okay, but both ahead of Nabers.
I will have that as soon as we get done with this.
Gotcha. Jerry Jeudy or Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Jeudy.
Cooper Rush or Drew Lock, Superflex?
Rush.
Najee or Nabers?
It's got to be Najee.
Dowdle or Braelon Allen or Isaiah Pacheco?
I am going with Rico Dowdle.
Okay, and how about this one? Guerendo, Braelon Allen, or Brian Thomas Jr. at flex?
I'm going with Guerendo.
ETN or Braelon Allen?
I've got Braelon Allen higher.
Jerry Jeudy or Devontae Adams?
Judy.
Last one. Winston or Mahomes?
That's a great question. They are very close in the projections. I'm going with Jameis.
Okay, thank you, Heath. We'll see y'all at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. YouTube.com/fantasyfootball today. We'll be answering your questions. See you then. Good luck, everybody.